Welcome back to the Christian Women's Health Collective. We are so glad that you are here, and we are entered into the month of September. If you did not listen to our last podcast, you need to go check it out because it was the introduction to our new membership that we have opened up, and it is all of us in one spot. So while you're getting our podcasts for free, you are not getting all of our incredibly valuable information for free because that is in the membership. And we have that open right now for $27 a month. That is the founder's fee, and that will be a forever price for you as long as you stay in the membership. So go check it out. And the website link is in the show notes. All right, so the month of September, we have decided that we want to host it on the topic of joy. And today we are going to talk about how we found joy while we were trying to go through our health changes in our lives. So I will quickly just tell my story real quick, and then we can just go around and hopefully keep this as short as possible for you guys so that everyone's short attention span can be adhered to. I started my nutrition journey in 2006 as an alcoholic and a food addict, and it sucked and it was hard. But one of the things that I learned as I went through recovery was that pain equaled growth. And so every time I would go through a really painful moment trying to figure out why I was addicted to food and why I needed to have those dopamine kicks, I realized that I did not really know who I was. And as I got to know who I was and got to respect myself better, and I began to understand that joy could come from pain, I would start to oddly, and I still do this today, look forward to those growth opportunities. So even though I'm in pain, I don't necessarily lose my joy because I know that when I get on the other side of that, it's going to be pretty blissful because pain, I grow at the rate of pain that I'm in, and that is where I find my joy. And that was what it was like for me in the beginning. I had to change everything about my eating. I had to dive in and learn so much about nutrition that I didn't know. I grew up in the South, addicted to food. Not that, bless you, not that everyone in the South is addicted to food, but if you are familiar with the Southern way of life, we eat a lot of fried food and we eat a lot of junk food. Sugar is a staple. And so I didn't understand how to eat properly. And it was a struggle. I didn't know anything that I know today as far as the damage that it was doing to my body, the damage it was doing to my brain. But as I progressed through my education over the last 15 years, I've learned so much more. And now I find joy in food without feeling guilty. And I'm so grateful for that. And that's my short story. And that is how I found joy in nutrition. Julie, you're up.
Oh, joy. Joy, 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 joy. So I think joy is like a really crazy discussion for me as a whole because while it seems really strange, I think I recently just found true joy within the last 5 years. And I say that because like I think I poured from an empty cup. I don't know if like for me it was almost like a comparison syndrome. Like I didn't know what true I knew what some happiness was for that moment, but I couldn't hold on to it. Like I didn't look forward to it. I almost felt like I was stealing it from other people or just I was just empty. And 5 years ago I had a tragedy that happened in my life, and it was like, okay, what do we do? How do we move forward? And joy was something that I searched for, and I started finding that I could find joy in a bird, or I could find joy through like just looking up at the sky. It was little things. And then it became, I want to see more of that. And I think once I found true joy, which it took a long time, was probably, and I think you said it somewhere else, was like seeing love, like true, authentic love for the first time and feeling it without any kind of like, there was no obligation, there was nothing. Joy came to me when I had a secret sister group, and they would send me gifts, and I know where like I would get this box at my door. And so joy, I think love is what brought joy to my life. and then learning and just trying to see how could I deliver that joy and find it in other places. Um, I feel like I'm all over the place with joy because I carry it like today, and my joy I think continues to come from one day. One day I want to get to see Zach, and then sitting here today is my joy, educating people about kidney disease. And I think my joy just kind of like stacks on that because I get to share this joy. Like there is joy in slowing progression in kidney disease. There is joy in finding habit and mindset change to keep going forward. And so, yeah, that's my joy. That's my joy today. What about you, Brie?
Um, yeah, it's, I mean, it's such a broad topic when you think about it. And I love hearing what you guys are saying because joy can be unexpected and, come from so many different directions. Because I think God brings joy into our lives in so many different ways. Um, and one thing that I just keep thinking that I should share is just that not every day is filled with happy joy. Some days are just filled with the kind of joy that rests in knowing that God's got you, even when you feel like you're falling apart. And in my health journey in particular, sometimes it feels like you're taking 10 steps forward and this is so good, but then you take 2 steps back and you think, oh my gosh, what happened? Everything's falling apart and, I'm not where I was. But that's when you need someone to bring a bigger, wider perspective into your life because you can't look at just that small amount of 2 steps backward. If you look back over your whole life, over the last 10 years, or the last year, or 6 months, or 3 months, or whatever it is, you can see that you've taken 100 steps forward and only 10 steps backwards. So the big picture is that you've made huge progress when you look where you started to where you are now. And so I guess I just really want to remind people that when you're in the trenches, when you're in the valleys, there is going to be a peak. You're going to hit the mountaintop again. And so it's good to just remember those times and remember that you're not alone in those valleys. You're not alone in those trenches, that God is right next to you. He's with you, holding your hand through it all. And that is where my joy comes from, knowing that God's still got me, even when I feel like things are falling apart. And there's joy in the morning, when you get that fresh perspective and God's like, hey, knock it off. Look how far I brought you already. Like, of course, there's going to be trials and hard times because that's the world that we live in. So you have to stay connected to me. So that is where my joy comes from, staying connected to divine, the one who gives me life.
Brie, I feel like you connected dots for me, and that is that my joy, the reason I could not find joy for so long in my life is because I looked for it in people, places, and things. And when everything was so hard, I think that's when I realized that I didn't have those people, places, and things, and it had to come from God. And he is where you find that joy. And I think that he helped to direct me to see and to find other things that I could find joy in. But I think he missed that. It's in here. It's here, and it's seeing the beauty that he gives, right? I don't know. Yeah.
What about you, Sherry?
Yeah, you all have taken me all different paths and joy, and I really resonated too with what you had to say, Brie. And looking back and seeing where you've come from, and celebrating that and finding the joy in that, I think is huge because there are a lot of ups and downs when you're going through a health journey, or you're helping your kid change their eating habits, or you're, helping your mother through cancer or whatever it is, you have to look for some of those things that are going to bring you joy, and look for those little rainbows that come out of nowhere, and you're like, wow, thank you, God. I needed that today. And,
Those are the best moments.
And see, just stopping and recognizing those things, I think are huge. And they do help you get along the path as you're making your progress, because I think, I guess one of the things that I do with my clients too is that we stop and we celebrate those things that we've accomplished just in the past week. And it might have been this big, but it's still worth celebrating, because your steps are not always going to be huge along this path. You're not going to be trucking along. I can liken it. I was thinking about what you said too, Bree, was, and I think we all can relate as being mothers, that, you're a mother and you're like, yeah, I got this. And it's like, bam, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I don't got this. And, something new comes along with it. But yeah, it's just, I think just stepping back and looking for the small things and the small celebrations, the things that you can find joy in. Yeah.
It was beautifully said. And I realized right after I finished sharing that I did not share that was the time in my life when I learned that God was the way. So in recovery, in the 12-step recovery programs that I've been in, that's what we learn, is that you get to those points in life where you move through the pain by turning to God, and you don't rely on people, places, and things, because that's usually where we hold resentments. And so, yeah, it is definitely a reliance on God to get there. I also wanted to quickly mention, because Sherry talked about celebration, that we have a free 25 ways to celebrate without food giveaway, or opt-in, I guess you could call it. And if you're interested in it, we will drop a link for that in the comments below as well. So we thank you so much for joining us. We're not going to take up any more of your time today. We hope that you are feeling joy. And if you're not, please let us know below what you'd like to do to feel more joy. We will be launching, of course, another podcast next Monday. And in the meantime, we wish you tons and tons of joy. Bye, guys.
Bye.